Ready? Okay. All right, welcome everyone. If we can start the meeting with the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes to the January 14th, 2012 regular town board meeting. A motion to accept minutes.
Make that motion.
Charlie in a second.
Second.
Dave, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Monthly statement of supervisor for the month of January 2013. General A fund had a beginning balance of $29,481.65. Total received $661,251.44. Total dispersed $46,862.54, leaving an ending balance of $643,870.55. Savings IMM accounts in the General A is at $139,442.38. The General B fund had a beginning balance of $2,908.28. The total received was $58,476.95. Total dispersed $4,524.31, leaving an ending balance $56,860.92. Savings for the General B is at $44,152. The Highway DB had a beginning balance of $117,405.33. Total received $403,294.02. Total dispersed $1,728.80, leaving an ending balance of $518,970.55. Savings for the Highway DB is $45,304.11. Highway DA had a beginning balance of $8,336.86. Total received was $839,037.36. Total dispersed $82,174.65. leaving an ending balance of $765,199.57. Savings for the Highway DA is $252,817.01. The Youngsville Water District had a beginning balance of $1,110.87. Total received $8,592.75. Total dispersed was $1,822.90, leaving an ending balance of $7,880.72. Savings for the Youngsville Water District is at $21,375.95. Do I have a motion to accept the supervisor's report as read?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Janet, the town clerk and code enforcement officer report, please.
I paid $534.47 to the supervisor. I paid $178.57 to the DEC. $31 to the Animal Population Control Program, and $22.50 to the New York State Health Department, for a total of $766.54. And I received $225 from the Code Enforcement Officer.
Okay. Motion to accept town clerk and code enforcement officer report is read.
Motion.
Dave in a second.
Second.
Charlie, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Would you audit the bills, Janet, please?
General A batches number 47 to 72, $16,051.25. Also received a bill from NYSEC for $19.93, and double clean for $340. General B batches number 7 and 8, $652.95. Highway DA batches number 17 to 26, $49,304.58. Water District batches number 5 and 6, $325.69. Also received a bill from Schmidt's Wholesale for $375.54. Burnwell for $186.12. Water operator certification for $300. Capital Project voucher number 1, $813.78.
Motion to pay bills?
Motion.
Howard, second.
Second.
Scott, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The warrants to January payroll checks number 21198 to number 21211 and the direct deposits in the amount of $37,886.27. I need a motion.
Motion.
Dave, a second.
Second.
Charlie, all in favor? Aye. That's the big one. January trust and agency checks number 4858 to number 4874, and the electronic transfers in the amount of $779,877.05. A motion.
Motion.
I'm sorry?
Motion.
Howard, second.
Second.
Charlie, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Chris, our highway superintendent report.
We've been pretty busy. We're getting a little bit of everything, rain and wind and snow and everything, but it's been pretty, we're getting to that point in the year when things start to break a little bit, but we haven't had anything too major yet. A couple trucks down here and there, but other than that, Joanna and I have been working with the guy from about getting our Sandy reimbursement and all that stuff, so we've been showing him around, and Joanne's been doing most of the paperwork with him and talking on the phone a lot, so hopefully we'll get some money back from that for the couple weeks that we had there. And other than that, things are pretty quiet. So,
Got our generator working, I know.
and the generator's working again, hopefully. We're good now, so other than that, we're keeping up, but
Okay. Board have anything for highway?
How's the wood stove working?
everything's good. Yep. No oil again this year. So far, nothing. Another drop, so
Very good.
things are happening.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Code enforcement?
Not too much building going on, of course, this time of year. Starting to write some logging permits. That's about it.
So what's going on, Youngsville, on the hill up there? I haven't talked to you about it.
It's in court.
Okay. Board have anything, code enforcement? All good? Okay. Greg, you have anything?
Nothing right
Okay, that completes that portion of our meeting, so at this time, we will open up public comment for our business items on the agenda. Yes, sir.
My name is Ken Hilton. I wanted to read a brief statement to the board. On tonight's agenda is a resolution to declare a negative declaration to SECRA, stating that the comprehensive plan will not have any significant adverse environmental impacts, and that an environmental impact statement is not necessary. I worry that this action and the entire comprehensive plan dangerously minimize the potential negative effects to our town and its residents of gas drilling. It is stated time after time in the comprehensive plan that the town's government is committed to preserving the rural character and protecting the natural environment of our town. I appreciate the need that we have for economic development. As the plan states, we need greater employment opportunities. We need to have lower property taxes. We need to have greater town revenues. And this can only happen with an expanded commercial tax base, and I support that goal. But whatever forms our town's future economic developments take, the promise to preserve the town's rural character and to protect its natural environment must be upheld. I'm only one of many who will hold you, our town leaders, to that promise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on agenda items?
Does it have to be on this agenda, or
Yes, sir. No, we're good.
fracking wouldn't?
It's not on the agenda. Okay, just what's there. End of the meeting, another
Okay,
public
end of the
comment.
meeting.
Right, okay, thank you. So again, anyone else have anything regarding agenda items? If not, we'll move into those agenda items. First, I had the contact from an assemblyman in Western New York, Michael Kearns. He represents the 142nd district near Buffalo. Feels it very important that he's asking for support from all of the towns across the state for a foreclosure, 2 foreclosure bills. What this has to do is foreclose properties within a municipality. What this legislation would do would be to require a lending institution, i.e. a bank, to notify the municipality of a foreclosed property. And what this would do is trying to eliminate some of the problems associated with abandoned properties, such as increased crime with the abandoned properties inhabited by not so crime-abiding or law-abiding citizens. They're claiming that it's deteriorating some property values. So again, with this legislation that they're asking for the support of this board would be to require lending institution to notify in a timely fashion the municipality that they have a foreclosed upon property. That way it's kind of on the radar. Code enforcement keeps an eye, and at least you have a contact if you have problems with that particular property. So they have the bills here. It's A stands for assembly, 0.88 and A.824. And it says, last session of New York Assembly joined the list of states that have passed foreclosure bills making it mandatory for banks to provide municipalities with contact information of property managers or other parties responsible for upkeep and maintenance of foreclosed or abandoned properties. Unfortunately, the companion bill in the state Senate was referred to the Senate Committee on Housing and received no further action, including no vote on the floor of the Senate. So he says, my intention is to make financial institutions and lenders more accountable to the surrounding community when homes and buildings are abandoned or foreclosure proceedings have started. So they're asking for the support of the town. They have sent along with it a resolution for that support. I can read that resolution, and then we can decide whether you want to support this, or if you need more time, you'll make up your mind. So, I mean, the blanks would have to be filled in with our information. The town of Callicoon, these are just left blank because it was just a generic resolution.
Is it just to have, once a bank conducts a foreclosure sale and they buy it back, and they have it, to let the town know that the bank owns it? Is that what the bill is?
Yes.
Okay. Doesn't sound like a big burden on them. And I guess your building inspectors would want to know about it, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if we don't know who owns
Yeah.
a property, we can't make them clean it up, cut the
It
grass.
doesn't sound like
keep
a big
windows,
burden on the mortgagee,
if they're
mortgagees.
broken, replace them, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So if you care, I can read this resolution, and then we can vote whether supporting it or not.
Yeah.
Okay, support for New York State contact information for vacant structures. Resolved to support New York State regarding the proposed laws concerning contact information for vacant structures. Whereas vacant, abandoned, and foreclosed homes and structures have proliferated throughout New York State over the last 5 years, and whereas vacant structures that are not maintained for months at a time degrade and depreciate the value of the vacant structure as well as the value of surrounding properties, and whereas lending institutions that hold mortgages on said vacant structures do not always provide the contact information of a responsible party, and whereas Assembly Bill A.88 and Assembly Bill A.824 currently pending would make it mandatory for lending institutions to provide contact information of responsible parties regarding vacant structures and require good faith in obtaining a foreclosure, and whereas the town of Callicoon Town Board supports the passage of said bills. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Callicoon hereby supports the passage of said bills and respectfully requests that the state representatives who represents constituents in the town of Callicoon support the passage of said bills. All right.
Okay.
You got it? So we need to do a roll call vote? We don't?
No, it's a resolution.
Okay.
For
All in favor?
bill.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Thank you. Okay. The next two items, let's start with one. Resolution for lead agency for comprehensive plan. Let's be clear about one thing. In order for this board or any future board to adopt an updated plan, it must complete the secret process. These two resolutions on our agenda tonight will enable us to complete the secret process. It does not mean that this comprehensive plan, in the form as it stands now, will be or will not be adopted. That's for the board to determine. What is necessary is, we're told by general municipal law, that we have to complete a secret process. That's what this is for. Last month, we had the same agendas on our agenda, same resolutions on our agenda, and I had requested them to be tabled because I had found an error in each one of them, the same error, and it was a wording error. The consultant that prepared these proposals, or these resolutions, intended, she wrote the planning board, and it should have been the committee. Both of these resolutions are still online. I have copies of both of them. You're certainly welcome. Everybody should be aware of it. I'm certainly not trying to do anything that the public does not have knowledge of. It simply denoted, and it's my fault, I took the blame for that. I gave the resolutions when they were received to the town clerk. She posted them on the website. I did not pick up on that, so that is my fault. That's why we tabled them. That's why we did not go further with them. We could have adopted them with corrections. We chose not to. We wanted to be very clear in our intention, so we have done that. So the resolution before this board is about lead agency status, which in December of 2012 regular town board meeting, this board, by a motion, a second to the motion, and an approved by a unanimous vote of the entire town board, that we declared lead agency status. This is simply the resolution in support of that. I will read the resolution. Whereas previously the town and planning board for the town of Callicoon duly adopted a comprehensive plan, and whereas the town of Callicoon town board identified a need to review and update that plan to properly plan growth and development in town, and whereas the town had recently developed and adopted a town of Callicoon agricultural and farmland protection plan and desired to incorporate this plan into an updated comprehensive plan, and whereas the town board assigned the task of reviewing and updating the plan to the town of Callicoon Comprehensive Plan Committee. And whereas the committee has drafted this plan with the assistance of a planning consultant and has solicited input from the community via a survey, planning workshops, public meetings, public hearings pursuant to Town Law 272A. And whereas the committee submitted a draft plan to the town board of the town of Callicoon for their consideration, and whereas the town board has held a public hearing according to Town Law 272A, and whereas the town board has reviewed the draft plan, and whereas adoption of a comprehensive plan pursuant to Town Law 272A has been determined to be a Type 1 action pursuant to New York State Environmental Quality Review, (SEQRA). And whereas the proposed action will not require permits and approvals from any other local, regional, and state agencies prior to adoption of the plan. And whereas the Sullivan County Planning Board is required to review the town comprehensive plan pursuant to the applicable standards of New York State General Municipal Law 239M, and this approval is considered an advisory opinion under SEQRA, and the agency is not considered to be eligible for lead agency status in this action. Now therefore be it resolved, pursuant to the applicable standards of SEQRA, the Town of Callicoon Town Board concludes that it is the appropriate agency to serve as and declares itself lead agency for the environmental review of the proposed Type 1 action. And be it further resolved that the Town of Callicoon Town Board hereby authorizes development and circulation of a copy of the EAF, Environmental Assessment Form, pursuant to the requirements set forth in SEQRA. Whereupon this resolution was declared adopted by the Town Board, Town of Callicoon. At this time, I'll ask the board if they have any questions on this particular resolution. Charlie?
No. No?
Okay. Marvin?
No, you're really formalizing what you did in December. It's perfect. You're the only one that could be the lead agency.
Okay, so we need a motion.
Make that motion.
I'm sorry.
I'll second.
I'll make the motion.
Motion is by Dave, second by Howard. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Third, resolution of a negative declaration. Also, same as I stated before, this same resolution was on our agenda for last month, and because of the wording of the planning board as opposed to the correct wording of the committee, we chose to hold it, correct it, and resubmit it. That's what we've done. I'd just like to read a little bit. Again, this is in the sequence of event that we must comply with SECRA in order to consider, remember that word, consider adopting this comprehensive plan. So this is required. A comprehensive plan is a guide. It is a roadmap. It does not change any law or program. Only the board, in subsequent actions, can the plan be implemented. Consider it a policy statement. The action to be reviewed under SECRA is the adoption of the plan. It is not site-specific, and the environmental review is oriented to what effect the plan's adoption will have on the environment. It seems like we have taken this to what effect the implementation of recommendations in the plan will have on the environment. So, with that being said, not being site-specific, any further action that would come before this board or any of our planning board ZBAs would also, as with any development, have to go through their own SECRA process. They would have to go through their own environmental assessment and more than likely an environmental impact statement. So I want to stress this because I know there's a lot of questions in our public and I would like them answered to the best of our ability so that people are not assuming. We should all make decisions on facts. So, again, we're just considering that it is not site-specific, does not change any law or program. I would like to read with you at this time the negative declaration. Whereas previously the town and planning board of the town of Callicoon duly adopted a comprehensive plan, and whereas the town of Callicoon Town Board identified a need to review and update that plan to properly plan growth and development in town, and whereas the town had recently developed and adopted a town of Callicoon agricultural farmland protection plan and desired to incorporate this plan into an updated comprehensive plan, and whereas the town board assigned the task of reviewing and updating the plan to the town of Callicoon Comprehensive Plan Committee, and whereas the committee conducted a multiple year-long study of the town of Callicoon that included a full inventory and analysis of the environmental, agricultural, economic, housing, demographic, cultural, and historical resources in Callicoon. And whereas the committee solicited and utilized the input of public through a written survey, planning workshops, focus group meetings, open public meetings, and public hearings to formulate the plan. And whereas this plan includes long-term vision, goals, objectives, and strategies to guide future growth in the town. And whereas the plan is comprehensive in nature and is designed to incorporate and replace the prior town of Callicoon adopted comprehensive plan. And whereas the committee has drafted this plan with the assistance of a planning consultant and has solicited input from the community via survey, planning workshops, public meetings, public hearing pursuant to Town Law 272A. Whereas the committee has submitted a draft plan to the town board of the town of Callicoon for their consideration. And whereas the town board has held a public hearing according to Town Law 272A. And whereas the town board has reviewed the draft plan. Whereas the adoption of a comprehensive plan pursuant to Town Law 272A has been determined to be a Type 1 action pursuant to New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and the town board declared itself lead agency. And whereas the proposed action will not require permits and approvals from any other local, regional, and state agencies prior to adoption of the plan. And whereas the Sullivan County Planning Board is required to review the town comprehensive plan pursuant to the applicable standards of New York State General Municipal Law 239M, and this approval is considered an advisory opinion under SECRA, and the agency is not considered to be eligible for lead agency status in this action. Whereas the town board has reviewed parts 1, 2, and 3 of the full EAF and discussed and set forth the following. The plan is a guidance document for future decision-making and makes recommendations on the ways the town can maintain its environment, which includes agricultural lands, historic features, its aesthetic character, and rural landscapes, while allowing for future growth and development. The plan establishes that these features are primary components of the community and a critical part of the environment in the town of Callicoon. Implementation of the plan will positively assist Callicoon in reaching goals of maintaining open space, rural landscapes, and protecting the environment by establishing the important environmental and community characteristics by strengthening zoning and local performance standards that will protect the environment in the future, and by positioning the town to advocate for its environmental resource protection during any future local or state level permit review. The plan recognizes the need to protect natural features in sensitive environmental areas and establishes a recommendation to refine town zoning to protect those features. The plan includes an inventory of environmental resources, including agricultural land and historic resources, and recommends future actions to protect those resources, including implementation of all the recommendations included in the town agricultural and farmland protection plan. The plan was developed with significant public input throughout the process. The plan was developed using detailed analysis via a GIS to locate, identify, and understand environmental conditions such as streams, wetlands, steep slopes, floodplains, and soils. The intent of the plan is to promote the safety, health, and well-being of the residents of the town and to protect and enhance the town's natural environment and character while simultaneously promoting smart growth and economic development. Future policies of the town are established in the plan to protect and enhance environmental features, including establishing a policy direction for the town in regards to controlling high-volume hydrofracking for natural gas. The plan establishes policy that the important environmental resources identified in the comprehensive plan update are maintained in the future by working with DEC and state-level regulations for gas drilling activities, and would aggressively operate to ensure safety and eliminate adverse impacts that may be associated with natural gas drilling or any other high-intensity uses. The plan promotes renewable energy by recommending amendments to the current zoning laws to include specific provisions allowing for wind, solar, geothermal, and other alternative energy projects while taking into consideration any impacts on neighboring properties. It is recognized that growth will continue to influence the environment in the town, but the plan is oriented to managing that growth in a manner which reduces impacts to the environment. The town finds that the plan offers mechanisms to reduce environmental impacts compared to conditions that would occur if no updated plan was adopted. Before I read the last paragraph, I would just like to ask this of the board. If after thoroughly reviewing the Environmental Assessment Form Part 2, are you all in agreement that there will be no adverse impacts to the environment created by the adoption of the update to the comprehensive plan? I'll repeat it. After thoroughly reviewing the Environmental Assessment Form Part 2, are you in agreement that there will be no adverse impact to the environment created by the adoption of the update to the comprehensive plan?
You should get an individual answer from everybody.
Scott?
I agree with the statement. I agree.
Yes, I agree.
As the plan stands, I agree.
Okay, let the record note that we are all in agreement that after reviewing the Environmental Assessment Form Part 2, that we do not feel there will be any adverse impact to the environment created by the adoption of a plan. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Callicoon Town Board hereby declares that the Town of Callicoon comprehensive plan described herein will not have any significant adverse environmental impacts, and that an environmental impact statement will not be required. Be it further resolved, the Town Board hereby authorize filing of a negative declaration according to SECRA. Whereupon this resolution was declared adopted by the Town Board, Town of Callicoon. Any questions on the resolution as it stands?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Okay. Next on our list is the local law that we've been working on for quite some time, the road use agreement. On 24 January, this town, Callicoon, in conjunction with Town of Delaware, held a public informational workshop regarding the road use agreement. It was somewhat lightly attended, but some very good questions were raised, and I hope the answers were formed by the engineering firm. We've been working on this road use agreement for quite some time. As with any local legislation, we do not like to adopt the local law just to adopt another law. We want it to be correct. We want it to be governing for the intent that it is drafted for. I believe that to be the case. There's been a lot of talk about this. I think we've answered many of the questions, and the board has spoke about it publicly. We've talked one-on-one. I am content with the law as written for the road use agreement. We have other towns that have already adopted it. We have some considering it. The intent of the MMTF, the 8-member towns that took this to task 3 or 4 years ago, was to remain consistent in our local law, so that our town did not differ from adjoining towns, which would, in my opinion, create hardships for any project developers, whatever it may be. I think that would be in the best interest of our town as well as all members of the MMTF, although I can only speak for this town. So I guess I'm asking the board again, if they need to have any discussion on this. We've gone through it. We've gone through the program manual, and I think we're ready to move forward with this. I would just like, before reading a resolution, to adopt this local law, if there is any comment from the board.
Well, I'm very comfortable with the way that this law works to, I believe, protect us, the town, for damage to our roads in the instance of a spike in heavy development of any sort. It could be windmills, gas drilling, a large, I don't think we'll have a large box store here, but that type of development would trigger this. And so it won't hurt any local contractors, in my opinion. And that was the idea of this right from the get-go. So I'm in favor of it.
Charlie?
My concern is about some of the easel numbers. Winter, spring, summer, fall. I understand there's different easel numbers depending on the season.
Correct.
Could you explain that a little better to me?
According to the program manual, which was derived by Delta engineers, okay, there are suggested minimum threshold easels, easel being equivalent single axle load. There's formulas for this. I can't get into the specifics of it now, but it's certainly available if someone wants to get into that specifics. But what it says, Charlie, is this. Our road conditions vary. I think our highway superintendent could verify this. Probably the least vulnerable time of the year for heavy activity of use would be in the winter months, roads frozen.
Hard frozen.
Right. At which time then the easel limit would be higher. And I think the suggested one for the winter 3-month period is 400. And this is established by AASHTO technique, by standards that have been derived from accepted practices. The most vulnerable time of the year, of course, is our springtime. Spring thaw, frost goes out, and almost any kind of heavy traffic impacts some of our roads. That's when the easel limit would be at its lowest. So that would capture the most traffic on a basis of, again, the easel limit, the repetitiveness, not the weight so much as the repetitiveness. So again, if your roads are in good shape, and we have paved, we have unpaved, but that's why they're suggested for springtime, and it is up to the program manager, which would be the highway superintendent, as long as whatever project is started, you have a start date, stop date. If it can be construed and agreed upon between the town and the developer, that start and stop date will lie within that 3-month period, that those suggested easel limits can be used in the formulation of this. And that's how they will determine if it's a concentrated traffic or not. If
So
it's
if-
concentrated, then they're subject to the law.
So in the springtime, a project, whatever it might be, depending on the road, could be shut down at that time or have to do something different.
Again, that would be up to the highway superintendent.
Right.
If it looks like the road is just not going to handle any type of it, he can close the road, he can make the road come up to the standards, that's part of the law.
Just
But what the-
protecting our road, it's to protect our roads.
Exactly.
Okay.
But what the easels do is, again, that's what triggers this, whether it's determined to be concentrated traffic or baseline traffic. So the lower the easel number, the more chance of trapping whatever project it may be.
All right.
We've done numbers, we've worked on it, Dave's worked on it quite a lot. We've talked to some of our local home builders and had instances where they've taken several, like a 2,600 square foot home. They've given them all the numbers, they're confident that this is okay. This is a pretty standard, I mean, it's been adopted throughout a lot of municipalities. Look, no law is perfect. The board has the right, even after we adopt the law, if we do, to exempt upon town board's determination. We also can change the easel limits. We'd have to do it by public hearing and another local law. If we determine that 400 is not the right number, or 50, or 100, or 200, we have that right.
There's a process.
Exactly.
I spent a lot of time with Delta and the lawyers and that wrote all this stuff up, and I wasn't too sure of myself. I had the same questions you did, and I did spend in the last month and a half conversations back and forth, especially with Delta, about these easels amounts and our normal commerce
These
traffic
numbers are
should follow
consistent
through.
through the
Okay.
towns, pretty much, that's what
The
we're
multi-municipal
looking for
task force,
consistency.
the 8 towns, this is what's been proposed. It's in the program manual. It's up to each town individually. If they choose to change them, they have the right to do it.
Through the same process.
It's the same process. I mean, it's my contention, and we've had, and I'll continue to have, with the towns that haven't adopted this yet, that my feeling has always been and remains to be that we stay consistent. And that would just ease this process for any developer.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Charlie. Scott?
I'm comfortable with it. I think Howard stated it pretty clearly,
Okay.
pretty well.
So this would be a resolution authorizing adoption by the Town of Callicoon Town Board of Local Law Number 1 of 2013. Whereas a resolution was adopted by the Town Board of the Town of Callicoon to conduct a public hearing to be held by said Town Board on October 8, 2012 at the Town of Callicoon Town Hall, 19 Legion Street, Jeffersonville, New York, to hear all interested parties on a proposed local law entitled Local Road Use and Preservation Law. And whereas notice of said public hearing was duly advertised in the Sullivan County Democrat, the official newspaper of said town, on September 21, 2012. And whereas said public hearing was duly held on October 8, 2012, 7 p.m. at the Callicoon Town Hall, 19 Legion Street, Jeffersonville, New York. And all parties in attendance were permitted an opportunity to speak on behalf or in opposition to said proposed local law or any part thereof. And whereas pursuant to Part 617 of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, it has been determined by the Town Board of the Town of Callicoon that adoption of said proposed local law would not have a significant effect on the environment. And whereas the Sullivan County Department of Planning and Environmental Management reviewed the proposed local law by their letter of October 5, 2012, found that the law will have no adverse inter-community impacts pursuant to General Municipal Law Section 239M. And whereas the Town Board of the Town of Callicoon, after due deliberation, finds it in the best interest of the Town of Callicoon to adopt said local law. Now, therefore be it resolved, the Town Board, Town of Callicoon hereby adopts said local law number 1 entitled Local Road Use and Preservation Law. a copy of which is attached hereto and made part of this resolution. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and in the local law book of the town of Callicoon, and to give due notice of the adoption of said local law to the Secretary of the State of New York. Passed the 11th day of February, 2013, Jeffersonville, New York. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Do a roll call, Tom.
Roll call vote. Scott?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Myself is aye. Howard?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
The record reflects its unanimous approval of the resolution of local law number 1, 2013. Thank you. Next is an easy one. We solicited, tried to, bids for a new chipper for the highway department. As of 4 PM today, no bids were received.
Economy must be getting better.
Yeah. Marvin, we'll review again the procurement policy. This may fall in line for proposals instead of actual sealed bids.
For RFPs?
It may. And if it doesn't, if we have to request bids again, we'll have to re-advertise, correct?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So I guess at this time, I would like to ask the permission of the board, you know, the superintendent of highways and myself will review this. If we feel that it is within the procurement policy of soliciting RFPs instead of sealed bids. If we cannot, due to our procurement policy, and we have to solicit sealed bids, I want the permission again to advertise for such.
Make that motion.
Charlie, second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, opposed? Thank you. Okay. Another resolution, imagine that. This is from the Division of Planning, Environmental Management, and I'll just read you the short letter. As a result of the hard work your municipality contributed, Sullivan County multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan is now approvable pending adoption by all the local jurisdictions. All municipalities must now adopt the plan through formal resolution using the enclosed template. The plan is accessed on the county's website, if anybody cares to view that. I will have a follow-up in a day or two, ensure the resolution is put on your, okay, and that the county must submit it to FEMA to finalize the plan. The first resolution that FEMA receives will start the 5-year update clock, so it is important that all municipalities pass this resolution expeditiously. Given the county's history of spring flooding, it would be beneficial to pass this during the first quarter of 2013. And as a reminder, in order to be eligible for certain applicable funding through FEMA, the plan must be adopted by your municipality. The county had hired consultants to work on this. They've been working on it, I believe, since 2010. Here's the resolution. To authorize the acceptance and adoption of the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan update for Sullivan County, New York. Whereas the town of Callicoon, with the assistance from Barton and, forgive me, I hacked this name up, Logadis PC, has gathered information and prepared a multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan update for Sullivan County, New York. And whereas the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan update for Sullivan County, New York has been prepared in accordance with the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000 and Title 44 Code of Federal Regulations. And whereas the Title 44 CFR Chapter 1 Part 201 requires each local government participating in the preparation of a multi-jurisdictional local mitigation plan or plan update to accept and adopt such plan, and whereas Town of Callicoon has reviewed the 2012 Hazard Mitigation Plan update, has found the document to be acceptable, and as a local unit of government has afforded citizens opportunity to comment and provide input regarding the plan update and the actions in the plan. Whereas the town of Callicoon will consider the Sullivan County Hazard Mitigation Plan during implementation and updating of local planning mechanisms, and will incorporate the hazard assessment data, hazard vulnerabilities, and mitigation actions in these mechanisms where applicable. Whereas the town of Callicoon has reviewed the plan and affirms that the plan will be updated no less than every 5 years. Now therefore be it resolved, town of Callicoon as a participating jurisdiction adopts the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan update for Sullivan County, New York, dated October 2012, and resolves to execute the actions in the plan. Again, it is on the county's website, so anybody can go to that, review that. So at this time, I guess I would ask for a motion to adopt this resolution.
Motion.
Second.
You have that. Seconded by Charlie?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Received from the town of Thompson also a resolution, actually two of them. This is in a resolution to oppose Governor Cuomo's proposal to prevent plea bargaining of traffic infractions. And what this, in a nutshell, is the state, thank you, Jack, excuse me. State, in trying to adopt their executive budget, is attempting to take away a revenue stream from all the local municipalities by prohibiting and preventing plea bargaining on some traffic infractions, mainly some speeding infractions. So we, being diligent and already have adopted a budget, as all the towns have, feel that if this legislation continues in its present form by the state, that it will take away from an already budget that we have been very fiscally sound in adopting. We also feel that it will cost us more money in prosecuting, additional time and resources. So I'll read this resolution. I'll ask the board to weigh in on it. But basically this is opposing the governor's proposal. Whereas approximately 3 years ago, New York State Police declared a policy that its troopers are no longer authorized to negotiate plea bargains on traffic tickets they issued, and whereas the Sullivan County District Attorney's Office, which has limited personnel and resources, was unable and unwilling to take over complete prosecution power over the handling of routine traffic violations, and it granted all towns within Sullivan County the authority to allow town attorneys to prosecute traffic tickets at the town's expense, and whereas the town of Callicoon, in direct response to the mandates of New York State Police and Sullivan County District Attorney, allocated money from an already overburdened budget for dealing with traffic tickets at its own expense, and whereas the governor of New York State in his executive budget is proposing to advance plea bargaining in vehicle and traffic infractions except in limited circumstances documented by the court. And whereas the prosecution of traffic tickets has been an important revenue stream for the town and has been accounted for in the town's 2013 budget, and should there be a change in plea bargaining requirements, the town would potentially lose a revenue stream and would cause an increase in legal expenses, which would essentially make this another unfunded state mandate. Now therefore be it resolved, Town of Callicoon Town Board strongly opposes any change in the law which restricts or otherwise hampers the prosecutorial powers provided to the town attorneys by the Sullivan County District Attorney. And be it further resolved that any restriction placed by New York State on the ability to plea bargain routine traffic tickets would place an unfair burden on the town as prosecuting agent by not only restricting the prosecutorial discretion of the town attorneys to accomplish just and fair results, but will require greater time requirements at additional significant expense to the town. Furthermore, it will place an unfair burden on the New York State Police and Town Justice Court. And be it further resolved that the resolution shall be provided to New York State Senator John Bonasek, State Assemblywoman Aileen Gunther, to express the town's adamant opposition to any changes to the law regarding the plea bargaining of minor traffic infractions. So, it's fairly simple. Marvin, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that or anything you'd like to add to that?
You know, not to be too jaded, but, you know, these resolutions supporting or being against things that are going on in Albany, I question, you know, whoever looks at them, but not to say it's not important to express your opinion. I agree with the resolution. It's an unfunded mandate. I mean, as a prosecutor, you should have discretion what to do depending on circumstances, and I think since we've been doing this, since the DA stopped doing it in the police, the Justice Court has been had good funding and it's helped the taxpayers. There's no reason for the governor and the state to get involved with this, so I would support it.
Board like to weigh in?
What do you think his reasoning is to do this?
How much? It's money. Because, you know, it's a lot of tickets, if they stay higher, the money goes to the state, and if they get reduced down, a lot of it stays here. You know, the governor can say it's for better enforcement, but if someone has a bad record, it goes at a real high speed, it doesn't get pled down, you know, way down where the town would get it anyway. It's money, that's
What they want to do,
my
Charlie,
opinion.
Plain and simple.
they want to place I believe it's an $80 surcharge on any plea down to like a non-moving, a parking violation. So the state would get the $80 surcharge. In addition, they want to make it a point-bearing violation.
They're gonna pass they have surcharges on everything now, and, you know, some of it is just so unfair, the surcharges, they'll pass that anyway, that's just a tax. But to limit, you know, how people decide, you know, prosecutors decide to deal with tickets, they shouldn't be messing around. They'll make their money in the surcharges, they'll probably make a surcharge on a parking ticket. There's nothing we're gonna be able to do about that. Just people are gonna have to pay more, that's all. What else is new?
What else is there? Anyone else? If we're in favor of the resolution opposing this, I would ask for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
A second? Charlie, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
For what it's worth.
Unanimously approved.
Buffalo Springfield, everyone's what?
Janet's gonna be busy tomorrow. Last one, I promise. This has been an emotional issue. This also has to do with legislation that's already been adopted by our state, in my opinion, very hastily. Again, as you've said, who writes these resolutions, who offers them for someone else to review, if they're ever even reviewed, but however, here it goes. This is the Town of Callicoon resolution in support of the Second Amendment. Whereas the right of the people to keep and bear arms is guaranteed as an individual right under the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution and under the Constitution of the State of New York, and whereas the right of the people to keep and bear arms for defense of life, liberty, and property is regarded as an inalienable right by the people of the Town of Callicoon, Sullivan County, New York, and whereas the Town of Callicoon derives economic benefit from all safe forms of firearm recreation, hunting, shooting conducted within Callicoon using all types of firearms allowable under the United States Constitution and the Constitution of the State of New York. And whereas the Callicoon Town Board, being elected to represent the people of Callicoon and being duly sworn by their oath of office to uphold the United States Constitution and the Constitution of the State of New York, and whereas New York State Assembly and New York State Senate, being elected by the people of the State of New York and being duly sworn by their oath of office to uphold the United States Constitution and the Constitution of the State of New York, and whereas legislation passed by the New York Assembly and Senate infringes on the rights to keep and bear arms and would ban the possession and use of firearms now employed by individual citizens of the Town of Callicoon for defense of life, liberty, and property, and would ban the possession and use of firearms now employed for safe forms of firearm recreation, hunting, and shooting conducted within the Town of Callicoon, Sullivan County, New York. And whereas the Town of Callicoon Town Board believes there are many other less intrusive means available other than rash, confusing, and inarticulately drafted firearm laws that would effectively control, manage, and reduce violence in our society, such as mental health reforms, anti-bullying programs for schools, enforcement of existing firearm laws to the fullest extent possible, and proper psychological counseling for those in need or who request it. And now, therefore, be it resolved, and is hereby resolved, that the Callicoon Town Board does hereby oppose the enactment of any legislation that would infringe upon the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and consider such laws to be unnecessary and beyond lawful legislative authority granted to our state representatives, as there is no documented correlation between gun control measures and crime reduction. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to President Barack Obama, Vice President Joseph Biden, Senator Charles Schumer, Senator Kristen Gillibrand, Congressman Chris Gibson, Governor Andrew Cuomo, Senator John Bonasek, Assemblywoman Aileen Gunther, and the Sullivan County Legislature. Before I ask
And
your
all
opinion,
those poor mothers up in,
excuse me, sir. Excuse me,
Medford.
excuse me, sir.
I mean, bullshit. My God.
Excuse me, sir. I would just like to say I'm in receipt of a letter from the Sheriff's Association of the State of New York. 52 of the 58 sheriffs of the State of New York have convened. They have presented a very good letter with some excellent talking points. I think you should ask your representative of law enforcement of their opinion of this. They agree with several points of this legislation. They also agree that it was done hastily without the consideration of law enforcement personnel. There are about 6 points to this legislation that I believe the 52 of the 58 sheriffs agreed were logical, common sense, and in full agreement with. There are approximately 8, I believe, talking points on this letter from the Sheriff's Association of the State of New York that they want further conversation. They want it revisited by the governor. And that's what we're talking about. So, again, it's just a resolution. I'm asking for the board to weigh in, and they can do as the board sees fit. I believe the same resolution in the same form was unanimously adopted and approved by the Supervisors Association at our last meeting on the 11th, or on Wednesday last week, with 11 of the 15 supervisors in attendance. Charlie?
Well, I know what spurred this was a terrible tragedy, but I agree with you. I don't believe it's because of the people that illegally have guns. So I'm in agreement with it.
Howard?
Well, I read the letter from the Sheriff's Association, and I pretty much agree with their letter. And if, therefore, I guess I'm in agreement with this resolution.
I feel pretty strongly about this one, and I agree with the resolution. If guns kill people, then do pencils spell words wrong? Unless they're in unresponsible hands. And I think that the law that was passed by the state does nothing to address illegal gun ownership or abuse of guns. It restricts the honest people who abide by the current laws. That's my opinion of it. I'm in support of the resolution.
Thank you. Dave?
I read the sheriff's letter. I'm agreeing with Scott and Charlie and Howard, so I have no problem. I agree with this. And I think we should pass it, and I'll make the motion.
Motion by Dave. Second?
Second.
By Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you for that. As promised, that's the last resolution I have. Board, at this time, if you have anything you'd like to discuss before it goes to open public comment? No? Okay. Good. Okay. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
When you passed the minutes of the January meeting, it should have read 2013, right? I just wanted that note.
Thank you, Kim. Record reflect, the minutes were the January 14th, 2013 regular town board meeting. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Jill Weiner. I live in Callicoon Center, and I hope you bear with me. I have 3 things that I'd like to discuss. The first one is procedural. Tom, several months ago, you had presented resolutions that were not on the agenda. And we had an open public conversation where you promised that you would never put out resolutions that are not on the agenda again without announcing them before the meeting. And you did just that tonight, at least 3 times. So I asked you, will I have to, at the beginning of a meeting, ask you about resolutions? And you said, no, I promise, never again. It was a mistake. So I just don't know what to say about this, or if you have an answer for this to me, or if this is going to be something where at the beginning of every meeting I'm going to have to ask, or somebody from the public is going to have to ask, what's on the agenda that's not on the agenda? Is that how we're going to have to start every meeting?
Anybody else have anything?
Okay, I have two other points, so yeah, I'm not finished yet.
Okay.
The second thing is, when you were talking about the EIS for, regarding the comp plan, what you said was that that any new project that comes to the town would have an EIS through either the town board, the zoning board, or the planning board. So that's correct, right?
No, that would be through SECRA.
But that the process would have to be followed through SECRA.
If it's required, it would have to be followed.
Okay, but I don't think that's exactly what you said. I think what you said was any new project would have to go through SECRA and would get an EIS. And that's not true when it comes to gas drilling, because there's a generic supplemental environmental impact statement that comes from the state. So it would not have to go through any local review.
I will disagree with that, but that's okay.
Okay, I think that you are allowed to have your own opinion, but I don't think you can have your own facts. So the third thing is, I believe you're in the receipt of a letter from the county on the 239 review, where they made recommendations on to the comp plan, and I want to know how you're going to address them.
Well, this is public comment. It isn't debate.
I'm not
But I will
debating,
tell
I'm
you-
asking a question.
We are in receipt of that. Our attorney has not even seen it yet. He has it now in his possession. He will review it, this board will review it, and then we will proceed on it. Answer your question?
Not very well, but yes.
Okay. You're entitled to your opinion. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Tom and board, I'm shocked at the resolution that you just approved. I'm speaking as a longtime gun owner, a former member of the NRA, licensed by the NRA as a rifle shotgun instructor. Did you read the words of that resolution? You know it's not true. You know it's not true. You know that all constitutional rights have limitations. The First Amendment doesn't allow you to go into a crowded theater and yell fire. Of course we have limitations on our constitutional rights. They protect us as a society. You know what you said about the studies. The studies are clear. I don't know where you're getting your information, but for you to pass that, and I know that it's just simply a resolution, but for you to have passed that resolution without including it on the agenda so that members of your community could speak about it first is wrong. It's just plain wrong. Look at the words of that resolution. You know they're not true. I'm really ashamed. I'm embarrassed.
Yes, very true. Amazing. Thank you, Ken.
Yes, sir.
I got a little hot under the. I was out a couple of seasons ago. I was up on my roof cleaning the chimney, and two of the guys who hunt on my property, we all heard bullets whizzing over our head. And I was in the Army. I know what a bullet sounds like when it whizzes over your head. Someone was trying out a semi, I mean, it was bang, 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 bang. It just kept on going. It wasn't a couple shots. You know, hunting's fine. But when you have bullets going over your head from a, I don't know how many shot weapon, which is what can't be registered. I mean, it wasn't for no reason that I got irate there. So anyway, apologize for you. Sorry.
You may have answered my first question. You would have to vote on this comprehensive plan. You haven't adopted it yet. Okay, but it's all or nothing. It's the whole plan, everything in it. The man camps, everything in that thing. If you vote on that comprehensive plan, or are you going to take?
Sir, what we've done tonight was complete the SECRA process. Now, as brought out by Ms. Weiner, we are in receipt of a 239M review, which is part of the SECRA process, with some recommendations Whether the town decides what they do with them will be the town board's decision. When we have the plan that's ready to be adopted, it will be presented in its format then. It may be with changes to the draft
Okay,
plan.
that's what I wanted to know, whether this was accepted in its entirety tonight. As far as not, you haven't voted on it, but the resolution said that, you know,
We haven't voted on it.
right, you haven't voted on it.
No,
My
no.
next thing, and, you know, I don't know if I'm the only one, but all the legal speak throughout, that I wasn't sure, but was it saying that we could not amend rules as per the state's rules if fracking is indeed allowed? I wrote you guys a letter, but I mentioned something about just compensation. I really think we should think about this and talk about it before we adopt anything, but it may have been said, I wasn't sure when you were reading all those resolutions, whether or not, have you thought about that? Do you think that's worthy of consideration before we?
Well, again, sir, right now, it's not a debate on.
Not even a debate.
It's on the
I'm just
it's
curious.
it's on the comp plan, and again, that's the reason for public hearings, public comment on that.
I didn't think
And
we
it's
really got a
board's-
lot done. Everybody just 2 minutes and you couldn't really, you know, I think an issue of this importance, we really need some serious discussion about a lot of different things.
Anyone else?
Ron, did you get a copy of this? Do you have see the copy of this?
I don't know what it is.
It's what the recommendations from the Division of Planning. That's what they recommend.
Anyone else have public comment? Yes, sir.
As much of a question, when
Please
you,
stand, if you would.
sorry, when you review the plan, these documents and all, and determine that things will or will not have an effect and all that, does any scientific evidence that I have seen people from the audience present at our public hearings where we get the 2 minutes and all that, and the 400 and whatever it was cases of contamination that Mary submitted, and all of these things, and whatever evidence comes from around the world and around the country, and people who can't drink their water, and the brown water and all that business, does any of it matter, or is this just a done deal? I can't believe this. I'm sorry, I don't know my form of my question, I'm just so scared of this whole thing. And I have asked in letters to the editor, I have asked at meetings, not expecting an answer because they're commenting and not discussions, but if something goes wrong, what happens, who's responsible, who pays? Anytime anything goes wrong, it's just too late, even at this point. I didn't move here, as did anyone, whether they are new, whether they are here for I don't know how many generations, moved to the country to have water delivered, and all of this business. It's just, I just get the feeling as an observer, not a scientist, certainly not a political thinker or anything like that, just as an observer who, I just get the feeling that no matter what evidence is ever presented, that you guys are just going to vote it in, and I have never heard yet, does any of the scientific evidence ever get considered? And I'll ask again, I'm sorry, I'm a bit nervous here. And I told you I live very much near the Krieger property, and certainly within striking range, if the drill goes down and it turns, it's going to go under my house, and my well is very near, that whole thing. If something goes wrong, what happens? I just want to know now. On the record, what happens if something goes wrong? What do I do? I've asked this for years, and I can't get an answer. Not once have I gotten an answer to that very important question. What happens to my home, my water, the biggest investment of my life? I cannot afford teams of lawyers to fight anything. I just cannot stand up against an energy company. Thank you. I'm sorry, but it just came out like that.
Don't be sorry.
What is it?
Entitled to your
Answer it.
motion and opinion.
Did you answer this?
I don't have to answer, sir. This is public comment. This is an adoption process that we've all been going through. It's a very emotional issue. This board has been very patient in trying to listen to everyone's comments regarding
And you do
it.
listen.
But before
It's
you
never a-
guaranteed You already said that you
Sir, who are
guarantee.
you? I didn't call
It's
on
one
you.
way.
Did you-
Okay.
I have someone here that's raised their hand first.
Oh, yeah. Go over him first. I'm next.
All right, I'm Pete Lorenzo from Callicoon Center. Let's just say a fuel oil truck, a gasoline tanker, overturns, dumps everything into a creek or brook near your home. What is the liability, really? What would you have to do? Forget about,
Where's the liability?
where is the liability? With the fuel company? You'd have to get a lawyer, sue them, or?
It generally happens. Generally happens, and I can't speak for, other than myself with that, but if an accident occurs, and if there's, your Department of Environmental Conservation will be notified, and it is up to them.
It's just common.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you said before that you guys had all decided that there would be no damage. You looked at all the facts and you said that this was all we've all concluded this would be fine. Is that what you did? Did I misunderstand that?
Completely.
You said you looked at all and you guarantee that there should be no safety problems with what you did. I think you just said that. Am I wrong about that, Tommy?
Excuse me?
You all said that we all concluded that the resolution passed. Are you looking at me like I'm crazy?
Well,
Did I not hear that? I heard that, right?
Certainly, I'm sure you heard something, but I don't know what it is.
So you don't even know what it is you
I
said
heard it
then.
too.
You're the town supervisor, you don't even know what you said. I mean, we heard this, and then now I'm asking, and he asked you, so what happens if something happens to his property, his water, and he just wanted to ask you a question, because you said it won't, because we all said it's gonna be safe. We all determined it's safe.
Adoption of the plan does not in itself create an environmental issue. Adoption of the plan, again, it is not site-specific, that's what was said. So adoption of the plan in itself does not create that issue. That's what was said. Adoption of the plan, other than the paper it's printed on, that's the environmental impact of the plan. Implementation of the plan, that's different.
Sir, I don't think you identified yourself. You did, I'm sorry. For the record, I want.
Tim Corcoran.
I'm sorry?
Tim Corcoran.
And you
I
reside
own
with?
Samba Cafe Restaurant
Okay.
in Jeffersonville.
Thank you.
And you're my town supervisor. And I've actually never met you. You would
I
think that you would have
actually
come
did,
by
yeah.
our place once
No, I
to
actually-
say hi. You've never been
I
here.
actually met you here.
Yes, yes, Right, so you should know me. I had a business here for 8 years, been paying a lot of taxes, and I'm right here on Main Street, and I own property.
Anyone else has a comment, please? Yes, ma'am.
Nancy Lee, I live in Callicoon Center, and I understand that there's a difference between adopting the resolution and saying that there's no negative impact to the adoption of that resolution. But I think everybody here is concerned about what happens afterwards. And I think, Ms. Newberg, you're the town attorney. I'd like to know, when there's an open floor, is it not proper to ask for some answers so we have a dialogue instead of a monologue? We're not here just to make a comment. We would like to have a dialogue. So in that, to that end, I'd like to know if there is any consequence to the rules, the regulations of the comprehensive plan. What will the town do? Because from what I understand, the county's letter that, the county planning board, there are two things I picked up from that letter. And I understand you haven't read it yet, the town attorney, but the two things I remember that are so important is that the county felt this has to go back, without our approval, back to the town board, because it does not address the fact that so many townspeople came in concern, and that concern is not reflected in the proposed draft. The second thing I took away was that they said there are so many things in this plan, this draft, that says that's encouraging certain aspects of industrialization, and that they felt that it wasn't in keeping with what the townspeople were saying was important to them. So I'd like to know, one, procedurally, how can we have a dialogue? So it's not just us talking to the wall. I know you're very civilized, I respect that, but we want to know some answers. I think that's important. And two, what will you do as a town if something does go wrong? Will there be a super fund to take care of the landowners who don't have any property value when this is all said and done. Thank you. Maybe Mr. Newberg would address some of my questions.
I would say, number one, I disagree. This is public comment, and I've represented a lot of boards, the county, and this board gives two separate, distinct times for public comment. It's not question and answers, though I could understand you want answers, but it's comment, so everyone here, you have a big crowd, can make their comment. If you're going to get involved with debates or answers, you could be here all night. Some people might want to do that, but on the other hand, the town board has other business and other things to do. I'll just make a general comment, and I probably shouldn't, but I understand everyone's concern. Whatever is going to happen with gas drilling is not happening here in this town hall. And I think you all know that. There's been things in front of the DEC and the governor for years and years, and that's where it's all going to be decided, or in the courts. And this is a convenient forum, and you can make comments and by putting in a comprehensive plan and make it a debate about gas drilling. It's not this is not where that debate is going to be decided. It's clearly up in Albany and with the DEC or in the courts, and that's where it's going to be, and that's where the energy, I believe, should be focused for all sides. That's just my comment.
You were first.
Jerry Neiman. But it could be controlled here. This town has the right for self-determination, as all towns do.
Here, here. I think over here was next, please. Sure.
My name is Christian. I live in Catterall, and I actually agree with him. The town has the right to ban gas drilling if they want to. So we don't need to wait for the New York State to make any decisions.
Respectfully, I understand about comment period and it's not dialogue, and she has asked, when can we have a dialogue? And then we're told it's not a dialogue, it's a commenting period. Respectfully, when can we have a dialogue?
Well, sir, again, I think at the conclusion of the public hearing, and I had indicated, the courtesy that was displayed by everyone in attendance was amazing, and we all appreciate that. And I welcome a call, a visit. Now, I'm not here every day, you know that. Please, if you would like to call, I'll set up an appointment. You can come see me at my business, my home, my dairy farm, in the office, what's convenient for you. I will meet with you, and we'll have that conversation.
A public discussion.
Well, we've had public hearings, we've had open comment. Again, this has to do with the process for adopting this plan. When the plan gets revised, in its, whatever it is that the board decides to do, it will be again offered, and it will be on the website. It will be again open for comment.
Comment, but not two-way discussion. We can comment all until whenever. I'm not asking about that. Discussion. You can't get it. You can't get it. My other thing, respectfully, this might be over the line, admittedly. Just, I would love to know, and I don't know if I have the right to ask it, but what I'd love to know, if any one of you, if this all goes through, is going to lease and make money off of this. I'm sorry, it's a bad question, but...
It's a good question.
But it's a good question.
There's a comment period.
Where I have my little piece of land, I will just never, ever profit from this, and all I can do is just watch out and potentially lose, personally. And I have to be at the mercy of everyone else's opinions and what they will accept and what they won't accept and all. We're powerless.
Sir, if you call me, I'll gladly have a conversation with you. I'm not debating this issue with you tonight in this meeting.
I'm done.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Linda Babbitt, Youngsville, and I would like to ask the board to consider retaking a question from time to time. After all, if a member of your community comes to a meeting and they have a straightforward question, I agree, it's not you're not supposed to be debating, I also believe that the board should be addressed as a whole. Something should never be addressed to a single member. I think that that's out of line. However, I do believe that questions could be fielded. I have certainly asked questions from time to time, and I have gotten answers in the past. And it seems to me that as we're taking on these meetings where gas drilling is more of an issue, that suddenly there's the law. You cannot ask a question, it is only a comment. And again, I agree, it shouldn't necessarily be a debate, but I do think that when someone's come out, if they ask you a question in a straightforward manner, they should receive an answer.
Close there.
She's got it.
All right, so this will be quick with two things. I want to say that I agree with Christian and Jerry that the town does have the right to, through the home rule laws, ban or put a moratorium on gas drilling, and I think that would be the prudent thing to do. I also want to ask Tom, and I know Linda just said don't direct a question, but you just said that the plan will be back up on the website and open for comment. What exactly does that mean? Are you going to do another public comment hearing?
At this point, I can't comment on that, Sweeney, I don't know. We have to review comments that were received, taken in consideration at 239 review.
Okay, but you did just say that the plan will be open for comment again after it's reviewed.
Before it's adopted, it will have to be, sure.
So there'll be another
there's
public,
changes.
there'll be
Well,
another public
there
comment
won't be
period
changes.
or hearing?
There will not be another public hearing, it's not required. We've had the two already, but there were, you know,
We'll do whatever our legal obligation is with the plan.
You can do more.
Well, we'll do that for sure.
Yeah, but more is welcome by this whole audience.
it will be open for, it will be on the website. I have no time frame. I don't believe the board does now. There are a lot of comments to review, consider, and we'll make determination of what action to be taken.
Thank
A lot of the comments were of the same nature.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that should be considered too.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm happy that Nancy expressed the same thing. I'm hoping that I'm asking you to consider
We just
this.
have- I know who you are, Ron, but.
Yeah, Ron Berhard, Youngsville, New York, and I'm hoping that you will consider putting something in there, like she said, to create some kind of a fund, because I'm scared to death that I know you guys told me with the flooding, sometimes you have to take responsibility for yourself. You know, I pumped 10 grand in this year and it's flooding, it's never ending, a lot of work. And I know with this fracking, if my property value goes to zero, which it will, I won't even get 30 grand for it if my wells are polluted, because you're not gonna clean it up. What am I supposed to do, leave town and just say, okay, I can take a couple $100,000 hit and just, no, I don't have that wherewithal. And I think if we're gonna adopt this, the only people who are sure that it's safe are the ones who are gonna benefit. They ought to put their name to something saying, you know what, if we're making all this money, we could put a portion, if there's a problem. I would never ask for anything. If my wells, and I think you guys have to consider, empathically, all of us, there's other people here that are really, really deeply concerned, and I don't wanna hear after the fact that you were sorry. If we ever would've thought this we wouldn't have paid, it's like, hello, that's all I wanna say. And would we ever change assessed values if one person's property is ravaged and another person's pumping money at her, I'm gonna say, that's the same value that it was, even though it's been given away. Could that be written into the laws before we allow this? 'Cause we're gonna see havoc once this comes.
As long as you brought up the flooding, could I just read a letter that was requested of us at last meeting, if you wouldn't mind? I
don't mind a bit.
I think it's pertinent, if anyone disagrees. This is dated January 22, 2013. Dear Assemblywoman Gunther, as you are well aware, for many years, the residents and business owners, as well as the town of Callicoon itself, has suffered and endured damages caused by all too frequent flash floods. Since 2006 alone, we have been victims of what meteorologists have proclaimed to be 100, 200, and 500-year flooding events. My fellow volunteer firefighters and I have taken part in numerous rescue and salvage operations, including evacuations of residents from the roof of their apartment building. We have repeatedly assisted our friends and neighbors with placing thousands of sandbags in an effort to prevent damages to homes and businesses. When the muddy, brown, debris-laden water that cascades down from our surrounding hills with life-threatening velocity finally recedes, costly cleanup process begins. Thankfully, we've been very fortunate that no serious injury or loss of life have occurred in the town of Callicoon. However, the financial hardship faced time and again by our residents and businesses is both physically and emotionally overwhelming. Therefore, we are asking for your assistance in obtaining the financial aid necessary to immediately commence flood mitigation projects as suggested by local officials, Sullivan County Department of Soil and Water Conservation, New York State Department of Transportation, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Suggested projects range from less costly debris, trash racks, to be installed upstream from the most flood-prone areas, to retention dams or ponds designed to significantly decrease water velocity during extreme weather events, to the complete redesign and replacement of the New York State Route 52 bridge that spans the Panther Rock Brook in the hamlet of Youngsville. Unfortunately, we know all too well the financial crisis facing the state of New York. Although we also know how vitally important it is to our communities across the state to protect our most valuable asset, the families that live and own businesses here. Considering the safety of our residents and the inevitable combination of snowmelt, springtime rain events, we respectfully request whatever financial assistance that is available to lessen the impact of future flash flooding and the destruction caused by these storms. Thank you for consideration. It's a very important matter. Town Board, Town of Callicoon. So if we don't ask, we don't receive, so we're hopeful. Is there any other comment? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this should be a question,
The other lady, I'm sorry, I got her first.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. I just want to say thank you for that, Ann Hart.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, this should be a question, but I'll make it a statement. I hope some of you guys get a chance to look at that list of 804 damages that are recorded from drilling processes. I know I got that list from Albany, from someone who works with Albany, more or less about this problem, but give it a look, please.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Richard Kreisner, Callicoon Center. It seems, well, it'd be good if a little more input could be put into whoever's putting together the comprehensive plan. I know it's a little late date for that. But I'm going on a couple assumptions. One, it's going to be another couple of years before gas drilling comes here, if it does indeed ever come. It's been 4 years since there was a possibility, when I first heard about gas drilling, maybe more. And from that point on, I mean, I was going to, at the time I had a pond staked out on my property, which I was going to, have, that came in and measured it off, and I was going to have it put in. And I figured, well, hold on a minute here. I'm not going to put a bunch of money into my property if there's a possibility I'm going to lose it. And I talked with other people who put off construction because they're not sure, they're in limbo. So the town has been losing money, contractors have been losing money, businesses, realtors have been losing money because people put things on hold. And there's money out there to be spent. And so what's the solution? I'm looking around. I talked with, listening to Sonia, the farmer? Headland. And also I used to take my farm product down to New York City for the farmer's market. 2.5 hours. We are next to the largest metropolitan area in the U.S. They eat food. We can produce food for them for down there. If put some money into advertising that. Now, and people are becoming much more aware of the problem with fracked food. You give someone a choice, get frack-free food from Sullivan County, from New York, or possibly fracked food from Pennsylvania. Sophisticated people are going to buy it from New York. Why don't we use this as a plus for us rather than going against us? Why are we is the town board insisting on changing that which we already have, that which we've been building for so long. Oh, we throw this whole thing out and start over, industrialize the area? Make use of what you got. Because this other thing, one of the things, is it's going to be 2 years before you get anything out of it, if you ever do. In the meantime, what's going to happen? You're going to lose more and more money. Second homeowners. What do? They come up here, they buy a second home. Do they come up with kids? No. The kids don't go to school here. So you get this tax base in, but you don't have any more kids in the school. And the school tax is half of what our taxes are. And a lot of these people, you know as well as I do, they got money. And they're going to spend it. It just, somehow it doesn't, things don't make sense. And I think you can't keep ignoring that fact. Anyway, I keep turning around in my mind some solution that could work out where everybody would benefit more than we are now. People who are against gas drilling, they're losing. People who want gas drilling, they're losing. We can turn this into a win-win situation, but you're not going to have that happen until you start to be honest with the situation, with yourself, with your neighbors. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Somewhat. Thank you. Good, I'm glad I'm making sense. Thank you, Todd.
Making sense. Very good point.
Okay.
Is there anything else? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Second.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments.